Have you ever wondered how certain towns in America became symbols of racial challenges? Throughout the vast landscape of the United States, numerous towns have emerged not just as mere geographical locations but as pivotal arenas where the ongoing struggle for racial equality and understanding plays out. These places, marked by significant historical events, have shaped not only their local communities but also the national conversation about race. In today's exploration, we focus on towns that have become infamous due to their profound historical and ongoing racial issues. These towns were selected based on a combination of factors: pivotal historical events that spotlight racial tensions, and the lasting implications these events have on contemporary society. Our aim is not just to recount facts, but to foster a deeper understanding of these complex issues, encouraging a dialogue that might lead to healing and growth. Join us as we delve into the history and current realities of these towns. Starting our countdown at number 10, Selma, Alabama, a city pivotal in the fight for voting rights. In the heart of the American South, Selma stands as a beacon of the civil rights movement. It was here in 1965 that the Selma to Montgomery marches marked a monumental chapter in America's narrative. These marches, particularly remembered for the harrowing Bloody Sunday, saw peaceful protesters met with brutal resistance on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The images of that day galvanized the nation, accelerating the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Today, Selma continues to honor its legacy. The city's landscape is dotted with memorials and museums dedicated to the civil rights movement. Yet, the struggle for racial equality echoes in its streets, reminding us of the journey still ahead. This city, enriched with history, invites reflection on how far America has come and the road that lies ahead. Selma's story is a testament to the power of nonviolent protest in the fight for equality. At number 9, Ferguson, Missouri, a town that captured global attention in 2014. In the heat of a humid summer, the streets of Ferguson became the epicenter of a massive societal upheaval, following the fatal shooting of Michael Brown, an 18-year-old African-American, by a police officer. This incident sparked a powerful and sometimes violent series of protests that resonated around the world, spotlighting deep-seated issues of police brutality and racial profiling. In the wake of these events, Ferguson saw significant changes within its police department, including reforms aimed at improving community relations and increasing transparency. The city introduced body cameras, a more rigorous training regimen, and initiatives designed to foster dialogue between residents and law enforcement. Yet despite these efforts, challenges linger. Tensions still simmer, reflecting a community and a nation still grappling with the complex layers of racial injustice. Ferguson remains a symbol of the national movement against police violence. Number 8. Jasper, Texas, where a heinous hate crime in 1998 shocked the nation. In Jasper, the brutal murder of James Byrd Jr., a 49-year-old African-American man, marked a grim chapter in America's history. Byrd was chained to a truck by 3 white supremacists and dragged for 3 miles. His death not only horrified the nation but also spurred significant changes in hate crime legislation, including the James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Act, which strengthened penalties for hate crimes in Texas. The impact of this tragedy rippled through Jasper, prompting the community to confront its racial tensions head-on. Local initiatives aimed at fostering racial harmony and understanding were launched, and Jasper's leaders and citizens worked tirelessly to rebuild the town's image from one marred by racial hatred to one of inclusivity and resilience. Despite these efforts, the scars remain, reminding us of the continuous struggle against hatred and prejudice. Jasper's tragic past serves as a harsh reminder of the work still needed to eradicate hate. At number 7, the now ghost town of Rosewood, Florida, where silence speaks volumes. In the early 20s, Rosewood was a thriving African-American community, rich with families, businesses, and dreams. However, in January 1923, this peaceful town was catapulted into the national spotlight for tragic reasons. A false accusation sparked a horrific week-long massacre, perpetrated by a mob of white men from nearby towns. Homes were burned, lives were shattered, and the once vibrant town was left in ruins. In the aftermath, the survivors, scarred and displaced, scattered across the state, carrying with them the harrowing memories of those dark days. For decades, the story of Rosewood was shrouded in a painful silence until the survivors and their descendants began to seek justice. In 1994, nearly 70 years after the massacre, the state of Florida approved compensation for the survivors and their families, acknowledging the grave injustices they suffered. Moreover, Rosewood's poignant history has been captured in films and literature, serving as a somber reminder of the deep racial wounds that have marked American history. Rosewood's story is one of loss and the struggle for justice that followed. Number 6 takes us to Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, once known as Black Wall Street. In the early 20th century, Greenwood was a beacon of African-American prosperity, entrepreneurship, and culture. However, this thriving community met a tragic fate during the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921. In less than 24 hours, a white mob descended on Greenwood, looting, burning, and demolishing much of the district. The violence left hundreds of black residents dead and thousands more homeless, effectively erasing years of black economic progress. For decades, this dark chapter was scarcely mentioned in history books or discussed in public discourse. The silence was a heavy cloak around the memory of those horrific events. Recently, efforts have been made to bring this history to light, with memorials erected and educational programs initiated to ensure that such a tragedy is neither forgotten nor repeated. Greenwood's resurgence is a powerful narrative of resilience and remembrance. Halfway through our list at number 5, Watts, Los Angeles, a flashpoint in the 1965 riots. Nestled in the southern part of Los Angeles, Watts became a symbol of racial tensions and urban strife in America during the mid-20th century. The neighborhood erupted into 6 days of intense unrest, beginning on August 11, 1965, after an incident of police brutality sparked widespread outrage among African-American residents. The roots of the Watts riots can be traced back to systemic inequalities. High unemployment, poor living conditions, and racial segregation created a powder keg waiting to explode. More than 34 lives were lost and hundreds were injured, laying bare the deep-seated racial issues that plagued American society. In the decades that followed, Watts has seen significant efforts towards regeneration and reconciliation. Community leaders and activists have spearheaded initiatives to improve education, housing, and employment opportunities, turning scars into symbols of resilience and hope. The evolution of Watts is a story of community strength and the ongoing pursuit of social justice. At number 4, Chicago, Illinois. A city with a complex tapestry of racial history. Chicago's story is deeply woven with the threads of the Great Migration, a pivotal era during the early 20th century when hundreds of thousands of African Americans moved from the rural southern United States to the industrial North in search of better opportunities. This influx transformed Chicago, but not without deepening the lines of racial segregation. Neighborhoods became battlegrounds of identity, with invisible but sharply felt borders. The city that witnessed the formation of the Chicago Defender, an influential African-American newspaper, also saw the rise of restrictive covenants that kept neighborhoods segregated. Despite these barriers, Chicago became a center of black cultural renaissance, even as it grappled with systemic inequalities. Today, community leaders and organizations are pivotal in bridging these divides. Initiatives aimed at fostering racial dialogue and understanding are taking root, challenging the remnants of segregation and discrimination. Chicago continues to confront its past while forging a path toward racial harmony. Entering the top 3, Montgomery, Alabama, a cornerstone of the civil rights movement. This city is synonymous with a pivotal moment that reshaped America, the Montgomery bus boycott. It began in 1955, when Rosa Parks, an African-American woman, refused to give up her seat to a white man on a segregated bus. This act of defiance sparked a year-long boycott of the bus system, led by none other than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a young pastor at the time who would grow into a global icon of nonviolent protest. Montgomery is not just a backdrop for historical events, it actively preserves its legacy. The city is dotted with museums and memorials that speak volumes about its tumultuous yet transformative past. The Rosa Parks Museum, the Freedom Rides Museum, and the Civil Rights Memorial are just a few sites where the echoes of struggle and triumph can still be felt. Montgomery teaches us the enduring impact of standing up for one's rights. At number 2, Little Rock, Arkansas, where a high school became a battleground for desegregation. In the autumn of 1957, the city of Little Rock became the focal point of a national crisis that would ultimately shape the course of civil rights in America. This was the year when 9 brave African-American students, known as the Little Rock Nine, faced hostile crowds as they sought to attend the all-white Little Rock Central High School. Governor Orville Faubus initially called in the Arkansas National Guard to block their entry, a move that prompted President Dwight D. Eisenhower to intervene, sending federal troops to escort the students into the school. This dramatic standoff not only captured the nation's attention, but also highlighted the fierce resistance to desegregation. Decades later, Little Rock continues to grapple with the legacies of segregation and inequality. Efforts to improve educational opportunities and foster racial harmony are ongoing, reflecting a city still in pursuit of true equality. Little Rock Central High School remains a symbol of the struggles and progress in educational equality. At the pinnacle of our list, Birmingham, Alabama, often called Bombingham during the height of the Civil Rights Movement. In the 1960s, Birmingham was a focal point for the civil rights struggle. The city witnessed profound events that have since etched into the annals of American history. One of the most heart-wrenching was the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing in 1963. This horrific incident, where 4 young African-American girls lost their lives, was a stark reminder of the intense racial divisions that plagued the city. Adding to the fervor of the civil rights campaign was the Children's Crusade earlier that same year. Thousands of school students took to the streets in peaceful protest against segregation. The images of these young faces enduring police brutality shocked the nation and became a catalyst for change, drawing national attention and support for the civil rights movement. These pivotal events in Birmingham did more than just shake the foundations of the city. They reshaped its identity and influenced racial policies across the United States. Birmingham's painful past serves as a crucial lesson in the fight against racial injustice. As we've seen today, these towns are more than just locations on a map. Each holds a story, a chapter in the broader narrative of America's ongoing struggle with racial issues. From the haunting echoes of injustice in Selma, Alabama, to the streets of Ferguson, Missouri, which became a modern emblem of civil unrest, these places remind us of the deep-seated challenges and the resilience found within communities fighting for equality. In Jasper, Texas, Rosewood, Florida, and the once vibrant Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we've seen the devastating impacts of racial violence. Watts in Los Angeles and Chicago have shown us the outcomes of systemic racial tensions erupting into conflict. Meanwhile, towns like Montgomery and Birmingham in Alabama and Little Rock, Arkansas, serve as key landmarks in the battle for civil rights, teaching us about courage and the power of nonviolent resistance. These towns, infamous as they are, encourage us to reflect on how deeply history influences present racial dynamics. They underscore the vital importance of dialogue and education in paving the way towards a more inclusive society. Thank you for joining us on this journey through America's challenging yet hopeful racial landscape. Remember, understanding our past is the first step towards shaping a more inclusive future.